Hello, everybody. I don't normally do this. Matter of fact, I've never done this, but I just had the missionaries over. I recorded a video for the podcast, and I had a very strong impression that I needed to release it as soon as possible and to not delay. And I don't want to interfere with conference weekend, so I'm releasing this video now for you to watch and to listen to this. It's an incredible story. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Brazos River Saints podcast. And today we have a couple of special guests on. We have our two new elders who have joined our ward, Elder Pugmire and Elder Carter. Right?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, we're happy to be here. So very glad.
We're happy to have you here. So we've had sisters for quite a while, so it's a little for me personally. It's a little refreshing to see elders come through. I know it'll swap back and forth sometimes, but I think elders have their strengths and sisters have their strengths, and so
for sure,
it's time to switch it up a little bit. But
yeah, we're just excited to be here. There's so much potential, and I love serving here. So
yeah. When you got the phone call and you're like, hey, I got to go to Granbury. Or were you like, oh, cool, I'm going to go to Granbury?
I was so excited. I heard a lot of good things about the Weatherford steak, and I was just so excited about it. So
awesome.
And it wasn't really a phone call, too. We drove to the Colleyville Steak Center, and they're like, you're going to Granbury. Have fun. Good luck.
Is that how it works in this? I don't even know how it works in this mission. Oh.
You find out your companion, and you just go.
Interesting. That's fascinating, because I served in Nebraska, and some of the places were far enough away that they had to call you and be like, okay, you need to pack your bags because you're leaving, and you have to find a way to get to in one case they were like, you got to figure out how to get to Lincoln, Nebraska. And I was like,
yeah.
Well, so they just send out an email the Sunday before transfers, and we find out if we're leaving or not.
Yeah, it's basically like you're leaving or you're staying, and then that day we'll meet at that building, and then this time it was fun. Usually it's you get a piece of paper, but our mission president and his wife decided to get Easter eggs and number them. And they had all the information in each egg, and we had to go find our eggs.
Yeah,
so
interesting.
Yep, that makes it creative. So
made you hunt for it. That's a good idea. I like that.
Yep,
I like that. I don't plan on being a mission president anytime, but if that ever befalls upon me, I might use that idea.
Hey, it's an idea for anyone out there who might.
That's true. Anyone else?
President one day.
That's a great idea. Anyway, so we're going to start with Elder Pugmire, only because he's sitting right next to me.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So yeah, I'm Elder Pugmire. I'm from a small town called Wellsville, Utah. It's by Logan, Utah, and I've been serving for 16 months now. I've loved every second of it. It's starting to fly by, but every opportunity I get to share the gospel is something that I have grown to love. It's something I was terrified before the mission. I was so scared to talk to people, and I've seen myself grow, and I've seen just a shift of, how I view people. I try to view people as, children of God, and it's really just changed my perspective, and I hope it continues to last throughout the rest of my life.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So give us at least one hobby.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Some of my hobbies I had back home. I played basketball. I loved anything outdoors. So I did a lot of fishing and hunting. Shed hunting was something I loved doing. I liked to draw. Things like those things. I did basketball in high school. And it was just an awesome experience. I love doing those.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, Elder Carter, you're up, buddy.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Elder Carter. Oh wait, this is not a congregation where I'm speaking at the pulpit. But I am from Surprise, Arizona. It's a small city near Phoenix.
Do people ever jump at you and be like, surprise?
Not there.
Oh.
I get more of I get more of that comment here than I've ever gone back home.
Oh. Okay, I was just checking.
Yeah, it's all
Sorry,
good.
keep going.
I'm been serving now for 12 months. I think I might have loved every second of it. I think yes, I have. Okay.
Here you go.
Got to make sure.
Awesome. At least one hobby.
Oh, okay. I really love video games.
Video games. Cool. What's your favorite type of video game to play?
Like console or like
sure. I was thinking more like strategy games or or like are you like, hey, those first person shooter games or like Super Mario type games?
I like having a story. So,
gotcha.
Because then it's just easier to follow along. It's
like
easier to get
Zelda.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I did get into Zelda back home, but Zelda was something I was trying to get into before I left. But I wasn't able to get my first one yet, so I'm planning on doing that when I get home.
Gotcha. It's a fun game. I mean, well, the old ones were. I don't know about the new ones. I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. Anyway, so tell us something, Elder Carter, just real quick, and as much as you want to share. So I actually asked Elder Carter before the video started because I don't want him to feel uncomfortable. But some of you may have noticed that when he was at church, he's got a couple of crutches that he uses, and so I asked him. I said, "Hey, is it okay if you tell us about that a little bit?" So I have no idea what you're going to tell us. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But I think at least, and I don't want to be like. Anyway, this is weird.
Okay. That's all good.
So I'm asking the awkward question so nobody else has to.
Yeah. Get it out there so
That's
no one
right.
has to ask me anymore.
That's right. That's the hope.
That is the hope. But I'm fine with sharing it because when I was filling my mission paperwork, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to get questions asked if I do a proselyting mission because I had no clue if I was going to get called service or proselyting because my stake president, when he was submitting my paperwork, he didn't know what to do either. He literally had to go to the first presidency and be like, what do I do with this kid?
Right.
And he was like, they were like, put him as service mission, but he's willing to do a full-time mission and explain the situation. Yeah. And so I just imagine when they're picked, they have all those, they're doing all these things for the mission. They usually have like 7 seconds of screen time for each person. I probably got a good minute or two.
Gotcha.
Or I might just have 7 seconds. I don't know. But I just like to imagine like they were just pondering there just about me for 2 minutes.
What do I do with Elder Carter? Right.
I like to think about that. I don't think that actually happened.
Right.
But so when I was 7 years old, I woke up on July 5th, 2011, and my leg was hurting a lot. I was fine the night before. I was running around, having fun, playing with my friends on July 4th, do what normal 7-year-olds do on July 4th. And I woke up the next morning and I was in a lot of pain. And my mom didn't believe me because we had swimming lessons that day. I didn't really like swimming. So she's like, you're going to swimming lessons. I don't care. It's okay. After swimming lessons, I was still in pain, so my mom was like, okay, maybe he's not actually faking it. So she took me to the doctor, and they're like, okay, I don't know what this is. It's not cancer. You're good. You're great.
Okay.
But go to this doctor. They might know. We go to that doctor. He's like, I don't know what this is, but it's not cancer. You're good. You're great. You're peachy keen. You're good. But go to this surgeon. We go to this surgeon, and he's like, I don't know what this is. Let me do a biopsy on it. And so they did a biopsy on it. They made an incision about the length of my pointer finger.
Mm-hmm.
and on the side of my leg, going horizontal. Yeah.
Right.
Horizontal. And they found nothing. They were like, we don't know what this is. We're like, okay, what do we do now? Let's do another biopsy. And they're like, okay. So we do the biopsy, and they made an incision probably about that big.
Right. So
very small. And that was done on September 15th, 2011. So a few months after I started showing signs, and I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma bone cancer.
What? Holy cow.
And yeah, I fought that for 10 months with chemo, and they removed it was in my femur, and so they removed the femur in my knee, and they put a metal rod in, and that's what they did to get rid of it. And I did some more chemo after that. I only did about 10 months. Awesome. Then I was told I was cancer free, and I was free to go. And my leg decided to do something fun. It decided to bend for a year. So they went in for a surgery to extend my leg because it was not keeping up with my right leg. And they extended it, and then they straightened it out too. And it was stuck straight for 7 years.
Wow. So you've been through the ringer. Oh, okay. Okay. Not yet.
So 4 years after being cancer free, there was this large bump that appeared on my leg, on the same leg that had the cancer, and it was like right on my femur. So I thought, kids be kids, they bump on their leg, it'll go away after a couple days. It'll go down. It didn't go down. So I'm like, Dad, what is this? He's like, I don't know. I don't know. What do I know? I don't know. So I go to my physical therapist. He's like, I don't know. Go ask your surgeon. I don't know. I'm just a physical therapist. So I go to my physical therapist. I go to my surgeon, and he's like, I don't know what this is. Let me do a biopsy on it. So we do a biopsy on it, and my family decides to go on a 2-week vacation up in California. 1 week of vacation is doing amusement parks along the way, and then my mom, she has her parents live up in Northern California, so we were going to go visit them for a week. So that was the second week. On the second week, we're driving to my mom's parents' house, and this is after the biopsy, and it's actually July 5th as well. And we get a call. I was asleep along with my brother, and my 2 sisters were awake. So they heard this call. My parents told them not to say anything to us yet, or my grandparents, they had to tell them. And so they pull over to a church building, like 5 minutes away from my grandparents' house. They wake me and my brother up, and they tell me that I have osteosarcoma bone cancer again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the cancer decided to grow its own bone, attaching to the metal rod, and attach itself onto that bone. Crazy how cancer works, especially bone cancer. And it was stage 4 both times, and very rare. And so they're like, you need to come back and do chemo ASAP. We need to get this going. They're like, can you wait a week? They're like, sure.
Okay.
So we waited a week. We came back. We did my chemo, and then I was told I was cancer free, and in June of 2017, and in August of 2017, I started 7th grade, and I was only a few days in, and my mom she was having a lot of problems. And so August 8th, she went to the hospital. She wasn't really feeling well. And I went to school, and I get out of school and I see a member of my congregation, the bishop's wife. I see her out there. I'm like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? Your kids no longer go to the school. What are you doing here? She's like, oh, I'm here to pick up you and your sister. And I'm like, okay. I don't know. So just make it. I guess my dad's still probably at the hospital taking care of my mom, I guess.
Right.
And so we go, and they're making this very weird way to go to my house. I'm like, this isn't the way to our house. So I'm like, hey, where are we headed? They're like, oh yeah, we're taking you to Dairy Queen. And we're like, all right. And so they take us to Dairy Queen, and they're like, get whatever you want. So me being a 12, almost 13-year-old, I'm like, okay, you said anything.
Right.
So I got myself a very big Blizzard.
Sure.
You gotta get that. You gotta.
Well, if they say you can get anything.
Yeah, exactly. They said anything. So,
right.
I never ended up finishing that Blizzard.
But now you know when someone says get whatever Blizzard you want, whatever you want, you know something's up. Right.
And so after a while, they take us back to our house, and we're going down our street, and I see a bunch of cars that I recognize. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess my mom's home. They're checking on her and see how she's doing. And so we walk in, and they're all in our living room, and we're like, okay. We're all just gathered in chairs, and they hear us coming in, and it's all silent. And I walk in, and I see my dad there, and I sit right next to him, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Like, cool. And I'm like, where's mom? And he was like, at 11:30 a.m. today, she passed away from something called mannequin disease. And basically mannequin disease is, she had a blood clot in the entire right side of her body. And she was basically having such bad arthritis that was putting her into a pose. And it usually takes 5 years for it to be like fully set in. If anyone lives past 5 years, they're in immense pain. So she was at the 5-year mark, and then 2 years after my mom passed away on August 2nd. Well, actually, I go a few months before that. My leg was starting to give me some problems. The metal rod was connected to my hip bone, and it was just like rubbing against my bone every time I stepped. And if you ever taken like a screw or a paper clip to your tooth, and every fiber of your being hated it.
Right.
Every time I stepped, every time I moved my leg, it was doing that. And so they're like, okay, we can do surgery to extend your leg, because the bottom of your left foot to the bottom of your right foot is about 6-inch difference. And so we'll extend your leg, we'll stunt the growth in your right knee, and we'll also fix your bone. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that. They're like, okay, come back at this time, we'll finalize some things. And yeah, so we come back that time, and I'm like, I don't want to do anything to my right leg. I want to make sure this one's still actually functioning.
Right.
And because I've already had a lot of problems with my left leg, I don't want my right leg to have that too. And so they're like, okay, if you don't want to do that surgery, we can also amputate. So as soon as I heard that word, the second I heard it, I knew that was my decision. But they gave me 2 weeks to think about it. And my dad wanted me to weigh the pros and cons.
Right.
And I found very minimal cons because I wasn't looking that hard. If you don't look too hard into something, you can't find any cons.
Right.
But over the years, I found a few cons. Like, people stare. You can see the stares, especially kids.
Right.
They're like looking directly at it. And
they're curious.
Yeah. And then as soon as you're walking by, you're no longer looking at them, and they're no longer looking at you. You just hear, Mom, he didn't have a leg. And I'm like, and I just burst out laughing every single time. And I see it in some adults too. Most adults.
Right.
I mean, it's not like super obvious like kids. Like they're not like, but they're like, got that little side eye.
So so everything you've just shared, like if somebody in their 50s or 60s shared this story, I'd be like, wow, you've had one heck of a life already. But you are like in your early 20s, right?
I'm 20 years old.
You're 20 years old. Holy cow. Wow, you have been like the refiner's fire has like come at you hard.
Yeah, I feel like it's like God was like, okay, he's like playing out my life. He's like, okay, let's make sure this is all like throughout his life. But he gives us the plans, and he's like, okay, this should be good. And he sent me down, and he's like, okay, you made sure that all this was supposed to be throughout his life, correct? He's like, wait, what? You wanted it throughout his life? You didn't want it in the first 20 years?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you've been through a lot. Holy cow. Wow. And I mean, I'm sorry you lost your mom. That's hard. Oh. Wow. Anyway.
That's just
and your leg. I'm sorry.
It's like not important, you know.
But I have to say, just watching you move around, I've been like wicked impressed. Like you just got it. You're like, let's do this. Let's go. So
I mean, yeah, then again, my leg was stuck straight for 7 years, so I didn't really, it was an easy transition to stop using it because I barely wanted to use it in the first place.
Right.
And what's funny is that my leg was doing the rubbing for months, probably like 6 months before I got my leg amputated. And my dad didn't give me crutches until after I finished my 8th grade year. And it had already been going on for 5 months at that time.
Oh, wow.
So it was just,
you were just always in pain. Like constant.
Yeah. It was hard to get sleep too.
Right.
As the years went on, the last almost 6 years since I amputated my leg, I didn't realize it then, but as I've been on my mission, I've definitely seen the Lord's hand in my life the entirety of the way. And as I look back, and it's definitely been a big motivator to me staying on my mission. And I honestly, I forgot to tell you, but I tell most of my companions. I don't know why I forget.
This is new. This is new.
This is happening on a camera. And you're like, I don't know how he's going to respond. Let's find out.
I usually always tell my companion, there's only 2 reasons I go home. My leg gives out or my 2 years are up. That's it.
Right.
Those are my only reasons I'm going home. Or they had to drag me through my cold, dead body. Otherwise, I'm not going home.
Right. That's awesome.
Luckily, we're both here for the long run. So
yeah,
for the full 2 years.
Well, you've already made it. You've already made it halfway. Like you can do it. You got
downhill now.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Holy cow! You have a story. Whoa! I was not expecting that at all. Like I was not expecting.
Asking, what were you expecting?
I had no idea. I was expecting like an ATV accident or like I was riding my motorcycle or whatever.
Oh no! Everything I just told you was a huge lie. It was an ATV accident. Oh, my mom's still alive back home in Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Wow. Awesome. Okay. So I don't even know, where do we go from here? Like, is that it? Like, are we done? Like, holy cow. No, you have to tell us about your mission. Like,
yep. I guess who do you want?
Let's go back to you.
Okay.
Elder Carter's been talking for a while. Let's give him a break. Let him chat. Let him just sit quietly.
Okay. So what areas we've served?
Yeah, like so
experiences.
So give us first. Okay, so let's just run down. Like, so tell us like a really cool experience. Let's just go back and forth on this. Tell us a really cool experience you've had on your mission.
Okay. Always. I remember when the first week we were both here. It was like a get to know you question with all the other missionaries that we were meeting with at this meeting, and I was talking to Elder Carter about it. I'm like, I can't ever like think of a story just off the top of my head. But at least one that was recent that I can think of. So in my last area, I was with one of my companions at the time, and we were also whitewashing into this area, just trying to understand, everything about the area, what best things we can do to, find those that are ready to hear the gospel. And we were visiting a media referral, and we didn't have any success getting in contact with them. But as we were leaving, there were some kids playing some football just on the lawn, and we played with them for 5 minutes. We just had a little fun pickup game because we were like, hey, might as well. It's just a good opportunity to connect with some of the people in the community. And as we were doing that, one of the neighbors walked outside, and they're like, oh yeah, like I'm a member of the church. And we're like, no way. We're like, could we get to know you, since we didn't know a lot of the people in the ward,
right?
And we went back the next day, and she had been away from the church for years of her life, like most of her entire life. She was baptized when she was younger, and she's now a lot older, and she's in so she lives in a household. It's like a 3-generation household,
right,
with her family. And we fast forward, she ended up coming back to church. The last week I was there, she still came to church. It's just been awesome to see that just opportunity, that moment that we were just there for that extra 5 minutes, how the Lord used that. And let's see, 6 weeks ago, it was probably more like 7 weeks ago, but she was talking to one of my companions, and she was saying that someone in the household had wanted to meet us. Previously, we were teaching some of the members of the household, and it didn't go too far. We were able to have some good lessons, but we were pretty disappointed just about some of the experiences. There's some opposition there, but we got to go back, and we got to meet one of her grandsons. His name is Josiah, and he was awesome. He really just wanted to learn more about the gospel. He saw that we had stopped by multiple times helping his grandma come to church, and he wanted to learn more. And over the course of those next couple of weeks, we were able to help him prepare to be baptized. And he made that choice, and he followed his Savior. And it was amazing to see just how all of that can happen just from just talking to someone and seeing those connections.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Don't ever give up on people who haven't been in church in a long time. There was one lady in my last ward that we lived in, who hadn't been to church in 40 years. And we went out after a hailstorm, we went out just to see how she was doing. And she came back to church and never stopped. And she went to the temple, and then not that long after that, she had passed. I want to say maybe a year and a half after that, she passed away. But anyway, it's incredible just to watch that change in people's life. Anyway, Elder Carter, back to you, buddy.
Okay. So in my first area, I shared this in that same meeting when we were doing the get to know you, and because I honestly, this was a huge story that happened for honestly me and my trainer, and it was the beginning of my second transfer, and me and my trainer didn't get transferred. We knew we weren't going to, and so we're going out, and we went to go visit this one inactive member, and we also were going to go visit this one lady that we had a lesson with. So they lived in the same complex, and it was a senior living facility or apartment complex. And so we visited the one friend. They weren't home, and we tried to, the way this was set up was that the main building was connected to 2 apartment buildings, but to get into the apartment buildings, you had to go through these double doors from where we were at, and it only opened one way. And if you went in through the other way, you would need a key card, like only like a resident would have.
Right.
And so we're like, okay, it's fine. So we walked around this entire complex, and the member lives on the second floor. So we get to the building that she's in, and we go up to the second floor. And as we just got out of the elevator, and we're walking, and it's like right here, and we're around the corner, and all of a sudden we hear a "Hey, you," and we turn to our left, and it's just nothing out there but balconies. And we look over, and on the third floor, there was this elderly black lady. She was like, "Are you Jehovah's Witnesses?" And we're like, "No, ma'am. We're missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." And she's like, "Well, come on up." And so my trainer and I go back into the elevator. And as we're heading up, he tells me most likely she's a Jehovah's Witness too. And if she is, most likely what's going to happen is she's going to try teaching us while we're teaching her.
Right.
And so he's just telling me what to expect because I'm new at this. I don't know what's going on. And so my trainer was awesome. I loved him. And so we get up there, we knock on her door, and she's like, "Come on in." And turns out she is a Jehovah's Witness, and she's been in the Jehovah's Witness church for 31 years. And we were there from I think 7 to almost 9 o'clock that night, and we were there much longer than we should have been. But she was amazing, and she's teaching us while we're teaching her, and we talk about the Book of Mormon, and we're like, "You want a copy of the Book of Mormon just to read for yourself?" And if you know anything about the Jehovah's Witness Church, they are told not to take anything from any other religions.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Yeah, I'll take it." So we're like, "Okay, awesome." So we leave, and we're like, "Okay, can we come back like next week at the same time?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, come on up." And so the next week we bring a service missionary down. This was down in Arlington. I forgot to mention that, but service missionaries down in Arlington. He's still on his mission, and I think he's almost done now. I think so.
Yeah.
But we go there, and we asked him if he wouldn't mind inviting her to church, because she accepted the Book of Mormon. So we're like, "Hey, let's see if we can get her to church." So we're talking with her, and she's teaching us while we're teaching her, and but she's listening a little bit more, and we're talking about the Book of Mormon and see if she read anything, and she did. And she read the introduction to the Book of Mormon, and I've never met anyone who does this. She read the explanation to the Book of Mormon.
Right.
The explanation. I don't think I've met anyone who's read it who is not a missionary.
Right.
And she read it. And she was asking a lot of questions about it. And so we're talking about it. And so we were, again, there for 2 hours, but we invited her to come to church, and the service missionary invited her. And she's like, "Yeah, I would love to. I just don't have a ride. Do you think I can get like a ride there? But then I would also have to go to my Kingdom Hall to go to my church as well." And she's like, the service missionary is like, "Yeah, I can give you a ride." And so she's like, "Okay." And she just also needed to go to her Kingdom Hall afterwards. So we had 10:30 a.m. church, and she went to both hours. And I sat with her during sacrament meeting, and my companion sat with another friend that we had at church, and she used to be a member, but she had her records removed, and but this is the first time in years. Her sister is a very devout member. She goes every Sunday. This is the first time she's been to church ever. And that was with me and my trainer. And I've checked, and she hasn't been since I left. But we're talking with her, and we get to the sacrament portion, and so I take the bread and I hand her the tray, and she's like, "I'm good." So I hand it back to the deacon, and I think he was a deacon. He might have been a teacher.
The young man that was there.
Yeah. He was very short, so but I hand it back, and the water comes around. I take the water and I hand it back because I don't think she wanted water. She didn't have the bread, she goes the second hour, and then she has to go. She's diabetic, so she had to go to Whataburger too to get some food. And so she goes to Whataburger and she goes to her Kingdom Hall. And we had a meeting with our other missionaries that day or a couple days later on Tuesday. And we were like, yeah, I don't think we're talking about our goals that we're setting. And we're like, yeah, I don't think we're going to put anyone on dates this week. And then after we leave that meeting, we get a text from that service missionary, and he said that she had a heart attack and she's in the hospital.
What?
And so we're like, okay.
Why did this stuff happen to you, Elder Carter?
I wasn't there for it.
Okay. All right.
But so we're like, we can't come until we don't have a free moment until like 5:00. And the service missionary is like, okay, it's fine. I can go with my older brother. And he's the youngest of 5, so he went with his older brother. And we're driving up to this hospital. It's a little bit out of our zone, so we had to call our assistants. And we had already asked him multiple times to leave the zone for things that the members wanted to do. So we were like, okay, hopefully they let us. And luckily they let us, and we go. And we are talking with her. Me and my companion have no intention of teaching her anything. We're just there to talk with her, see how she's doing, make sure she's okay, and leave it at that. And we start talking with her, and she's like, I've been in the Jehovah's Witness church for 31 years, and I just feel like I'm not progressing at all. And I just... When I was on that balcony, when I met you guys, I was there praying. I was praying to know the truth, trying to know if I'm in the right church. And so when I called out to you guys and asked you, are you Jehovah's Witnesses? And we told her, no, we're missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. She was relieved. And me and my companion are looking at each other, and we're like, we know exactly what to do. And we start teaching her about the doctrine of Christ, or the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it's all about progression. And we talked about faith, repentance, and we talked with her about baptism. And we invited her to be baptized, and she accepted. And so she was baptized July 13th, 2024.
Wow.
And immediately she was also wanting a calling. She was wanting all this.
She's like, I got stuff to do.
She saw hypocrisy in the Jehovah's Witness church. All the young kids were playing out in the parking lot. The parents were all worshiping inside. So she didn't like it. But she saw all the kids worshiping with us and not out in the parking lot. She saw the great family oriented that the church is, and she loved it. And she is now part of the Relief Society presidency in that ward.
Wow.
And her health's not doing great right now, but she loves every minute of it.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
And she's coming up on her year, and
Has she talked about, do you know if she's talked about going to the temple, or is she excited about that?
I think I don't know yet. I'm just looking at like the records that we have.
Understood.
I can look at. And I'm guessing she is. Because the last record that was in was the elders were talking about, they were talking with her, and she was so thankful for the man that comes and gives her the sacrament each week. And because when she went to church with us, she really wanted to take that bread. She really wanted it, but you can only be part of the 144,000 to take it.
Sure.
For some reason.
Okay.
But she just loved it. And,
awesome. Yeah. That's a great story. Thank you. Okay. One more question. Tell me why the Book of Mormon is important to you.
That's a great question. I would say, the main reason why the Book of Mormon is important to me is it has helped me come to know who my Savior is and my relationship, with Him. Before my mission, being in Utah, the church is strong there, and there's a lot of awesome members, and there's so many people that have a strong testimony, and sometimes that makes you just lean on all of those testimonies that are that you're surrounded by. And that's where I was. I was, surrounded by those testimonies. I leaned on my parents' testimonies so much, and I'm so grateful for my parents' testimonies. And that's what helped me want to serve a mission and to share the gospel, because I saw how it affected them. I saw how the blessings just that came into their lives from those experiences that they've had, and I wanted those experiences. And on my mission, it's not always been the easiest thing, but it has, really made me want to read the Book of Mormon more and understand why it's important, why we need it today. Because we have the Bible, and there's so many awesome truths that help us learn about who the Savior is. That's something I'm doing right now, is studying the Gospels. So I started reading John today. I finished Luke, Mark, and Matthew, and it's been awesome getting to look at all those little details. But the Book of Mormon has brought more light and a personal connection I've gained through reading it and through praying about it. And it's changed my relationship with him, and it's made my testimony, my own testimony. And it's something that I will never take for granted again in my life. And it's something that I just want everyone to have a testimony of, if they're not sure if the Book of Mormon's true, or if they want to believe that it's true. I would just say that, continue to pray and continue to read about the Book of Mormon, and look for Jesus Christ as you read. And I can promise that you will find him. And because I found him, and I know that, Jesus Christ speaks through his words, and he speaks through the Book of Mormon to you. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
I would honestly kind of say ditto for most of the things that you said. Back home, I lean pretty heavily on my parents' testimony, the testimonies in my ward. And the thing about Surprise, Arizona, most of you never heard of it, but there's still 3 stakes there. And so there's a lot of members there, and a lot of strong members. And I leaned on their testimonies for years, and I would just be at church scrolling on my phone, not really paying attention to anything. And I would just, for those 15 minutes, I would bless the sacrament. Then in the next hour 45, I would just scroll on my phone, unless my Sunday school teacher kicked me, and I would have to get off my phone. I'm very thankful for that Sunday school teacher. But as I've been on my mission, I've read the Book of Mormon more. And it's come to help me know why and see how Jesus Christ has been in my life through my trials, because that's what it is. It's literally all these trials that this family goes through, and how they got over it through the Savior, and how he blessed them in their lives. And it's not just the Word of God, it's also how we can lean on him through the Word, so that we can get through our trials. And that's what I've seen through the Book of Mormon, because it's helped me get through my trials. It's helped me know that the Lord was there with me. Because before, I was always asking the question, why me, why me, why me? Why am I going through this? Why do I have to have all these things happen to me? Why did I have to lose my mom? Why did I have to lose my leg? But as I've read the Book of Mormon, as I've prayed about it, as I've come to know that it's true, I've come to know that it's there to help us grow closer to God, including our trials. Our trials aren't there to hold us back. It's not there to be a roadblock. It's there to be a speed boost. It's there to help us go closer to God. And I see a lot of my friends back home. I see a lot of my same kids my age back in my home ward who are also leaning on their parents' testimony, all the members in my ward as well. And I bet the same thing is happening with them, because they have changed so much. And being able to know that the Book of Mormon is true is the lifeline that's helped me in my life, because it's helped me get through a lot of things, even when I didn't even know it.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you have a favorite verse in the Book of Mormon?
Omni 126.
Omni 1. Okay. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, it was. I can't recite it. I do not have it memorized. It's pretty. It's a bigger verse, but it was the first verse that really stuck out to me in the Book of Mormon when I was younger. And as I've looked at it more and more on my mission, it's on my mission.
Right. I found your scriptures. Look at that.
Yeah,
wow.
Right there.
There you go.
Yeah. So I guess I could read it, but let's see. Should be able to just flip right to it. Gone to it a couple times on the mission. It's just only like 2 pages, so it's difficult to find for that reason. But yeah. So Omni 126, it says, "And now, my beloved brethren, I would that ye should come unto Christ, who is the Holy One of Israel, and partake of his salvation, and the power of his redemption. Yea, come unto him, and offer your whole souls as an offering unto him, and continue in fasting and praying, and endure to the end. And as the Lord liveth, ye will be saved." And for me, it's the reason why it's my favorite is because it helped me realize that I can always, sacrifice something and offer it to Christ as I go to him. It takes sacrifice to follow Jesus Christ, just as it did with the disciples. They had to leave their nets. And Jesus Christ taught that only those that try to save their life shall lose it, but those that will lose their life for his sake shall find it. And that's something that I've found throughout my life as I've tried doing in a way whatever I want. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but as I've put that off and focused on something that is eternal, has an eternal value, focused on ultimately sacrificing that towards Christ, giving that up for something that's eternal. I found life through that.
So throughout my life, there was a scripture that stuck out to me, and it was Helaman 5:12. But throughout my mission, the one that's really stuck out to me was Helaman 5:10.
Okay.
And for those of you that don't know, Helaman 5:12 inspired a very famous primary song, and I'm sure everybody knows it. And it's the Wise Man and the Foolish Man. But Helaman 5:10 is an amazing verse. It's half of it's kind of just like it just says, I think I have it somewhat memorized, medium sized verse. And now, my sons, remember what Amulek said unto Zeezrom in the city of Ammonihah, for the Lord God shall surely come to redeem his people from their sins and not in their sins. Something like that.
Yeah.
Make sure it's actually right.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah.
I don't have that one memorized either.
Yeah, highlighted. And remember also the words which Amulek spake unto Zeezrom in the city of Ammonihah. For he said unto him that the Lord surely should come to redeem his people, but that he should not come to redeem them in their sins, but to redeem them from their sins.
Right.
I like that. I read that verse in the MTC, and it stuck with me the entirety of my mission. And because God's not going to just leave us there. He's not going to just leave us there like, oh yeah, you're forgiven, but then if he takes us out, if we're out playing in the mud outside, and he takes a hose, sprays us off, but then we keep playing in the mud, did we really get clean? No, right. He's going to drag us out, throw us in the shower, and then hose us off.
Right.
And he's going to help us every step of the way to be able to come closer to him through repenting through his word, and he's not going to just let us stay there. Because one of my favorite quotes from Jesus Christ was when he was in Jerusalem. He was like, "Come, follow me. Come as you are, but don't expect to stay that way." And that's something that I have to look at in my life. I will always want to follow Jesus Christ, but I can't stay the same person.
Right.
I have to change to become like him. That's what a true disciple does.
You know, it's interesting that you said that, because this is something I've been looking at recently, studying recently, and it's interesting that you say you have to change, and I agree. I'm not saying I don't agree, but it's the more we become true disciples of Jesus Christ, and the more we put off the natural man, the more our own personality comes out, the more our identity shines, and the less that the natural man comes out, right? So, so it's interesting to me that's the concept, is that we have to change, but at the same time, in that change, who we are is more prevalent. Anyway, that's interesting.
Cool.
Sorry.
All good.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. That was a lot more than I had expected, and I'm really happy because it was really awesome. It was incredible. Holy crap, that was incredible.
Yeah, we're happy to hear, so.
Yes. So for everyone out there listening, we've got some really awesome elders in our ward right now, and I know that there's some people in our ward that are like, we love the sisters, and I get it. I'm not disagreeing with you.
You still have the hermanas.
Yes, but these guys, they're top notch. So they need you to feed them, and they need you to go out with them to teach lessons and anything else that they might need. So if you've got time and you're available, say hello to them, talk to them, and help them feel welcome while they're here. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Okay. See ya.